What's up, Halas Huddlers? Chicago Bears football is back, baby. It's back. We have actual football, the Bears versus the Browns preseason opener. We're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to talk about some injuries, some key injuries that happened. We're going to talk about a tease on an interview that will be airing on this episode shortly after this episode releases. And somebody got catfished, and I got to talk about it. This is the Halas Huddle, where all we do is just talk Bears football. I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. My good friend and co-host Justin Onayemi. Welcome in. Let's talk football.
Like you said, it's exciting to talk football, but it's also exciting to talk to all you Halas Huddlers. So please make sure you subscribe, like, and comment so this conversation can be back and forth like we love to do in the comments. So, Rob, real football, kind of. With it being real football, kind of. But it's preseason, but there's still some things you can see in preseason. And overall, I was kind of pleased because you want to just win, you know? You want to put a stamp on the win. And, like, even the very last drive, Cleveland was driving. They weren't, like, clock managing, but I really didn't want them to score because 34-10 looks a lot better than 34-17. But I thought the Bears looked great. I especially thought the second half was impressive. We'll talk a little bit later. They had a different play caller in the second half, which I thought was interesting. But it was good to see guys out there. I have a couple nitpicky things I want to get into at some point, but we'll end with that. Not many starters played. I did like what I saw out of Devin Bush in the limited time he was out there. He looks the part, you know, he looks like they wanted more speed, and he's definitely going to bring that. On offense, didn't look as sharp as I wanted it to. That being said, very few penalties by the Bears. And Ben Johnson actually said in the postgame, like, he can't remember a preseason game, you know, first one especially, with just 2 penalties. So that's kind of good to see that you're well coached, you're disciplined. So operation-wise, okay, but some bad throws, some drops, some weird stuff like that. What were your takes?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. I did not get to watch this game on Saturday at all. I was out of the house at 10:30 in the morning, did not get back until 8:30 p.m., and it had nothing to do with American football. It had everything to do with football. I had 3 soccer games to go to and a soccer potluck for my son who made the high school team. Congratulations to him. It was a fun day. I had to come back and look at this game on Sunday. Still have not watched it from start to finish. So shame on me there. But I've seen enough to talk about things that stood out to me. So we're just going to do like some rapid reactions to things. And I'm going to give my overall perspective here. Here's my overall perspective of this game. 1, the play calling looked fantastic. Whether it was the first half or the second half, which you alluded to, we'll talk about the second half in a little bit. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect by any means. Tyson Bagent, a little bit of hiccups there at the beginning. We'll talk about him a little bit more in a minute. But what I liked about this game, what really stood out to me about this game, Justin, I am so glad I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan because, oh my gosh, that's where we could have been. That could have been us. That could have been us in purgatory as Bears fans just a few years back, right? Kind of like the Matt Eberflus era was awful. It's just light and day difference between where the Chicago Bears are at right now and the Cleveland Browns. You have no idea who's going to be playing quarterback over there. Is it Deshaun Watson? Is it Shedeur Sanders? Who's the other guy that they got? I can't remember.
Dylan Gabriel?
Yes, Dylan Gabriel. I can't even remember. That's how crazy it is over there.
But then on top of it, guys in the same draft.
you right. But you no longer have Myles Garrett. I will say, Jared Verse, I'm sorry, your career is now over. I love him.
Well, let's pivot off of that. The edge position is one we have our eye on, right? And there was no Montez Sweat. Like you said, most starters did not play. However, Dio was out there and Booker was out there. And Rob, I know you wanted to – maybe you bring him up now. You bring up your other one later, but you weren't so pleased in what you heard or saw? Oh, you saw every snap, you said, of –
I saw every snap of Austin Booker. And look, like I'm not going to read too much into it, but he just kind of looked like he, was kind of playing at 80% and not like injury 80%, but just like didn't seem like he was trying to bring it. Maybe it really, but I'll be honest, I don't think it really matters because you see, I think he dominated a game in the preseason and then fell off the face of the earth 2 years ago. So it's like, it doesn't always mean anything. For example, he's one of my disappointments. That's what we're going to get into. So let's start with disappointments. He is one of my disappointments just because I was hoping and expecting to see more. You're going up against a team that is struggling, a team that let up sacks, a team that turned the ball over. And he really didn't stand out to me at all. And I'm expecting big things from him. Like I'm expecting huge things from him this year. I want to see that change of being just that guy who's a rotational piece and becoming an actual starter.
Well, what I liked about it was they were in pass rushing downs. They were stopping the run. Up until very late in the game, the Bears gave up a pretty long run. Prior to that, I was looking up the yards per carry, and they were holding Cleveland to like 2.3 yards per carry. And there was no huge signing to speak of, no huge draft pick to speak of. You're signing guys like Nelvin Gallimore and Katavius Street, and those aren't as exciting of signings. But the Bears did look good against the rush, and that was definitely something you can't say they were last year. So maybe this idea that we're going to coach fundamentals, we're going to coach get off, we're going to, win at the attack point. Maybe it is as simple as that when last year was about learning a whole new scheme. And now it's like, guys, this is the technique that will allow us to put ourselves in advantageous positions. I had a disappointment and it's on the edge, but it's with the offense. So one other spot to take a look at was left tackle. And Amagaji got the start, but played about equal with Jedrick Wills. And for me, Jedrick Wills, neither guy stood out like in any kind of great way that I could see. But there was one particular play where Jedrick Wills just gets completely beat, not even on any kind of fancy move or anything. And Bagent takes a sack and he took it up kind of high by his head and wasn't good. And in a competition like that, already I think Braxton Jones, had he not been injured, would have probably been above both those guys. And there's a surprise name that could be entering the fray sooner than we thought. So I think both those guys needed to really impress, and I wasn't that impressed.
Yeah, my other disappointment was Tyson Bagent. Look, Tyson Bagent came out flat, 2 for 7. Then he did, turn it around, had a touchdown and interception. But then you look at, Keenum, who just I think he had 1 incompletion, 2 touchdowns. He clearly was operating at a better pace. And I know it's obviously, your second string versus your third and fourth string, all of that you got to take into account. But what my disappointment is like, look, we've been talking about how maybe Bagent could be a trade piece at some point next offseason. And there's might be a team or maybe a quarterback injury happens this year and they're looking for Bagent. He even said himself, he was disappointed. It wasn't, how he expected to play. That wasn't his best game. I expect more from him, so I'm going to put him on the block there. Mark Carman, shout me out. What did you think about your boy, Tyson Bagent?
So we kind of went off script because we started talking disappointments. Let me just shout out a couple of people that I thought performed well, with also taking a little shot as well, I suppose. But we did get some bad injury news that we'll talk about in a bit in the running back room. And so already, I think running back 3 was a position that we really had to see how it was going to play out. Roschon Johnson's been around in that role for some years, but hasn't really shown enough to say that it's his job, going forward. And I thought that Salvon Ahmed, who has a history with their new running back coach from Miami, played really well and showed speed. And they keep saying, we want speed, we want speed. That's not Roschon's game. And so as long as Ahmed can contribute on special teams, because you're going to need that out of your running back 3, I thought he looked really good. Explosive.
Yeah. So, really quick, I'm just going to list shout-outs really fast. Shout-outs, obviously, you already said Ahmed. Look, Roschon didn't have a bad game either. Averaged over 4 yards per carry. But Kaden Davis, the wide receiver, look, they didn't play like any starting, not even close to starting wide receivers out there, right? 4 catches, 88 yards on 6 targets. Ray McCloud, the guy they just brought in as a return guy out of Atlanta, he had 3 catches for 63 yards on 5 targets. So those guys, look, you're not going to probably make the team, both of you, but, you got to look at that. On the defensive side of the ball, look, Jamri Croma, I don't even know if I'm saying his name correctly, right? Like 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and got the fumble recovery, led the team in tackles with 5. I'm not shouting out Ruben Hippolyte for having 4 tackles. Get the F out of here. I don't even care. But I'm going to shout out my guy.
Hippolyte had 7 tackles.
Well, he had 4 and then 3 assists. My guy, who I am in love with, Malik Muhammad. And the one tackle that I did get to see that just was unbelievable was the way he stopped that run at the line of scrimmage. Solo tackle for loss. It was fantastic. Loved that one. And Beanie Bishop, look, a defensive back. We need him. The Bears are struggling in that department. We'll touch on that too here when we get to the injuries. But he had 2 interceptions as well.
You mentioned a rookie in Malik Muhammad. Maybe not the rookie people wanted to see. Thieneman didn't play that much and had 1 tackle. But Sam Roush was out there and looked humongous. I know that's part of the role, but he looked good. I think they'll use him quite a bit this season as that 3rd tight end. So that's exciting.
Oh, Dr. Truth, if you're listening, I got somebody for you. I'm going to have a disappointment in the fact that they got rid of Elks, right? And now this other long snapper had a bad snap that caused Cairo Santos to miss a 50-yard field goal.
That was a snap issue?
That was a snap issue.
I didn't know that, but I was kind of disappointed that he missed, but he came back and hit a 51-yarder later, so I'm not going to get on a snap issue. So that's enough, Rob. I mean, we said it was real football, but at the end of the day, it's still preseason week 1. I don't even know what to expect in the other preseason games because I think those joint practices is really where it's at. So if you're hoping to see Caleb Williams in the preseason and some of these other starters, you might not get your wish because I have a funny feeling that those joint practices is actually what we're going to be spending some time analyzing. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Then that's how the league has changed now. It's more about those joint practices than it is actually about these preseason games because they have more control over it. Although they had Josh Allen and DJ Moore out there in their game playing, which DJ Moore got dinged up and Josh Allen was taking some massive hits. So I don't know what's going on over there. But I will say we hinted at it. We didn't really get a chance to do it, or talk about it much. But shout out to Antoine Randall, who was doing the play calling in the second half. And Ben Johnson did come out and say, look, he's going to consider giving other people opportunities to make calls during the preseason. So shout out to him. I don't know how much of it was his ability to put plays and stack things together. Obviously, it's Ben Johnson's and the team's playbook, but he gets recognition for what he was able to do.
Yeah, I think sequencing matters a lot in how you call plays, how you call formations. Now, it was a vanilla game plan overall. You mentioned that you liked the schematics, but there wasn't a whole lot of pre-snap, motions and things like that. But that's how preseason is, especially in week 1. But one thing Ben Johnson also said about Randall L., and I think it's kind of important to do this because some people might say he's just a wide receivers coach. But Ben Johnson flat out said, I think he'll be a great OC someday. I think he'll be a great head coach someday. So maybe we're going to see. I don't know if we want this. Rob, but maybe there'll be a Ben Johnson tree someday.
I'd be okay with it. Doesn't always work out, but I'd be okay with it. All right. You mentioned the left tackle position. So, we talked about how, look, they lost Braxton Jones. We talked about that in another episode. Another injury that happened in camp. The injuries are just stacking up, guys. It's just stacking up in the preseason. Before we get too far into it, though, go back down to the comment section. Let us know what you guys thought about the preseason game. Let us know what you thought. Is there anyone who stood out to you or was a disappointment that we did not get to? Shout it out in the comments. We'll continue the conversation there. Justin.
Go ahead.
How's your taste buds, bud? I mean, are you ready for some leather? Are you going, some suede? What are we going with here?
Well, I'm still rooting very hard that this news about Ozzy Trapillo being way ahead of schedule and they took him off the PUP list, physically unable to perform. I'm still hoping that means he'll be a week 2 starter because then I think I'm still right. I don't believe that national writer was speaking correctly, like he had inside information that Ozzy Trapillo was ahead of schedule and would start in week 1. I still don't know if that's going to happen. But I have some ideas. Maybe I'll be a little creative since I still think the essence of the article was incorrect. But I will eat a shoe, Rob, if
All right.
Ozzy Trapillo gets the week 1 start at left tackle. So that's good news on the injury front. But from the game, I wonder what you think of this, Rob. And I know you said you didn't watch, that intently. But Xavier Woods, your new signing to replace Kobe Bryant, who we now find out is out 4 to 6 months. I don't think we've recorded since that's been changed. We originally thought 8 to 10 weeks. He'll be back by week 5. Now, maybe you get him for a playoff push. But you bring in a veteran in Xavier Woods. They keep talking about how quickly he's picking things up. He's got a lot of experience. And so to me, if he has a lot of experience, you weren't playing many of your starters. It was a little surprising that he was out there. And then, of course, to find out he gets injured, then it's like a head-scratching moment of should he have been out there. But overall, what I will say, and I'm really excited to hear your interview that's in our next episode that's coming up. I'm very excited because I think you touched on this a little bit. But the idea that maybe they're being too physical in practice, injuries suck, man. It's the worst part of the game by far. But I do feel like because it's such a physical game, you have to practice in a physical manner. And this most recent injury to Kyle Monangai, on the other hand, where they weren't even in pads, that's kind of iffy as to what was going on that would cause him to get that injured. But with some of these other injuries, I mean, they happen. They happen in this game. And in a weird, twisted way, and I think I heard Dennis Allen maybe say this, some of these it's like, well, let's have it now instead of in November. You get a 6-week injury in November, you miss the playoffs or it's in jeopardy. Whereas you get it now, Kyle Monangai, I think, did they say 4 to 6 weeks, was it projected?
4 to 6 weeks-ish. Yeah, it's not official.
Yeah, it's nothing official, obviously, but, he'll still be a good, hopefully, if he comes back healthy, no.
Just don't ask Dr. Romadunze.
Well, I like how he plays ball, so I'll stick to that. But what are your thoughts on some of these injuries?
Yeah, so I mean, just to touch on it, from an overall standpoint, look, to your point, it is a very, very physical game, right? And it's one of those things, I literally, again, I'm going to speak to soccer because that's what my son plays, and that's what I'm as much as I am into the Chicago Bears and I am like covering this team and I'm a fanalist, okay? I am on the inside when it comes to my son's preparation for soccer. And I literally send him videos all the time. And I came across a video of Kobe Bryant, a different sport, not the Kobe Bryant from the NFL, right? Not our Kobe Bryant, but Kobe Bryant from basketball. Rest in peace. He was talking about practice. He was talking about how when he's in practice, like if he is not completely exhausted, in pain, looking like he is just completely average because he is just gassed and giving it all, then he's not doing practice correctly, right? Because if you're not going to do it in practice, it's not going to translate into the game. So I keep telling my son, like, look, if you want it, you got to get out there and you got to give it your all every single day, even if it means you tweak things, right? You might tweak your back. You might pull a groin. Things happen, unfortunately. Like you said, injuries suck. But if you're playing at like 80%, which is what made me really curious about the Austin Booker situation, because that's just kind of how I felt when I was watching him. If you're playing at that point, you're probably going to end up getting hurt also because you're not truly playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, and things happen. So I think you got to be physical to a certain point. The Monangai injury, though, look, I have a problem with that one. And Grady Jarrett, congratulations. You are earning that paycheck. Congratulations. Look, he pulled him from behind in a non-padded injury. It wasn't like a non-contact injury. It was a pullback, and he instantly regretted it. According to Adam Hogue, like you could tell, like he caught him, and it could have been worse if he didn't catch him. So congratulations to you for that. But at the same time, like, what are we doing? Like you watch non-padded practice, and the running back runs through, and they're just like, like this, and no one really even touches them. Like it's touchdown every single time. It's more about hitting your holes and where you got to go. And I don't know. It's just that type of stuff pisses me off. But the things where, you you watch the Luther Burden catch against Tyreek Stevenson, guys going one-on-one, trying to catch the ball on the, it looked kind of like the back corner. It was more just like on the side. And he pulls his groin. That stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't stop that.
Well, and I think if I'm going to make an umbrella statement that just like injuries are inevitable, I think the one thing that you can, put solace in as a Bears fan is you now have a coaching staff where you actually feel confident that they're not just coaching 1 through 53. And you can really tell a guy like Ben Johnson, and then I would assume by extension his staff, they are constantly working with guys who are the next man up, not just when we see that they are the next man up. That preparation is happening in meeting rooms. That is happening on the field. Granted, if you're second, third string, you're not getting as many live reps in some of these scrimmage drills. But in the classroom and things like that, a good coaching staff is going to have guys ready to step up. Now, you can't replace Pro Bowl near level guy with replacement guy and just say he'll be a Pro Bowler now. But if these guys can hold it down, I mean, they know their role. There is a role to be a backup. And so you just hope that these guys are going to be ready and that these injuries will be on the shorter side of some of these timeframes.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'll end with this whole injury talk and then we can transition is, look, it was nice to see last season, you saw Kyler Gordon get hurt, right? And well, who knows what's happening with that.
I thought you were going to send your son videos of Kyler Gordon's rehab.
I mean, clearly he looks just fine. Like, why he's not playing? Like, clearly there's a disconnect between what's going on.
I don't want to make jokes. I don't know what's going on, so I'm not going to make jokes.
I don't either. It's just frustrating. I know there's been some talk about the Nate Davis connection. The difference is that Nate Davis didn't even do anything on the field, where Kyler Gordon, when he is on the field, looks absolutely fantastic. But there's clearly a disconnect between what's being portrayed by Kyler Gordon and what's actually coming out of Halas Hall. But where I was going with it was like, look, you had last year, Kyler Gordon went down and you went out and you got CJ Gardner-Johnson. And it was a huge pickup. And it was almost like maybe not apples to apples, but it was pretty dang close, right? Like he was just playing fantastic. Now you lose Kobe Bryant and you go out and you sign Xavier Woods, and he was looking great in camp and he was looking okay, during the preseason game, and then boom, now he's out. So they're going to have to figure something out here. I don't know what it's going to be. It really, really sucks that injury happened now, because it would have been nice to see, the Woods bridge until Kobe Bryant was able to come back. We'll see how that plays out. But to your point, and you mentioned it, interview. Look, I was lucky enough to interview a Bears legend, a guy who is one of the best in the league. Should be being recognized as a Hall of Famer at some point, potentially, and a guy who you and I grew up watching. So I am excited to get that interview out there. But I asked him about the physicality of camp and how you go about that as a player. And we're going to get his insight into that. So please definitely come back and check out that episode.
I love it, Rob. You've been talking to some Bears legends, my man. Like, for real.
I know.
Yeah,
him.
Now. Well,
him. It started with Jason McKee, and look, for me, Jason McKee was a legend as a fullback. That guy was like a true fullback.
Fullback used to be a position, so
yes. And then it was Matt Forte. Then it was, which was one of my favorite running backs of all time. Then it was Devin Hester, who is some people's all-time favorite Bears player ever. Yes. And now this guy. So and
to be honest, Halas Huddlers, the next guy might eclipse all of those.
That's right. Right. So you got to come back and check that out. But Justin is help on the way. Look, they just went out and signed Marcus Davenport. Okay. I think that is definitely a great signing. Not the position that I was thinking after all the injuries happening to the defensive backs, but we were talking about it before the season. They needed to find some rotational help, and that's what Marcus Davenport is. He is a former first-round pick, 14th overall, was drafted and played with the Saints under Dennis Allen. He played there for 5 years, 4 is under Allen as a coordinator, 1 when Allen was the head coach, and he was decent. He did not live up to a 14th overall pick at all, but at this point, you let him, you sign him and you see what happens. He's a rotational guy. That's all that matters. I'm pretty excited about that signing. But there's another name that's out there, and look, I want to talk about it because you mentioned it in our chat. previously to coming on here, and you can talk to both of these guys because it's the only two that we have to talk about. Also on the defensive line, though, there's rumors out there that the Bears are one of 3 teams that did make a call to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers about Vita Vea. So I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that? I'll give mine after you respond.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows what makes a call even means? I feel like Ryan Poles portrays himself as someone who's going to do his due diligence. And when Joe Schmo fanalists like you and I know that a guy is pretty much fed up and seeking a trade, then obviously all 32 GMs are locked in on that kind of stuff. And so to make a call, I think it's a worthy thing to do. It's not necessarily a strength on your team, as you can see. And I know some people talk about his age. Is he 31, Rob? Or do you know?
30.
30?
Okay.
Verify that for me. I know people are talking about his age, but you can be a win now team at this point. We think Caleb, first of all, if last year was his floor with Ben Johnson, which I guess we don't know that to be true, but it seems like there was a learning curve that he's now coming out of a bit. If that's his floor, the next few years are going to be very exciting. We know the weapons he has around him. A guy like that maybe could be the difference you need. And if you have to give him an extension, be fancy with how you word it. And, you can always figure out a way to make the money work. A 3-year deal that only has 2 years guaranteed. Are you going to hate the second year? Maybe, but is he the difference right now between you barely making the playoffs and you making an actual run for a Super Bowl? Possibly. So I'm excited about that potential. I don't know how close it is. And then with the Marcus Davenport, you said everything right. You highlighted it, but I guess his career high, I want to say, is 9.5 sacks, but it was in a Dennis Allen system. So maybe, you're not even looking for that at this point. You're looking for a guy who knows what he's doing, can be part of a rotation. So.
Yeah, he fits the Dennis Allen build. First of all, he's 6'6", like 288 pounds. He's a guy who can contain on the outside, but he's had some injury issues over the last few years with other teams and making a journeyman types of career here. It'll be interesting to see how he can kind of maybe revitalize his career, even as just a rotational guy. And you kind of just hope you can get 4 to 5 sacks out of that guy. I was wrong. Vea is 31. You were correct. So look, I personally am not on the Vea train. I guess it depends on what it's going to cost you. If you can get him for, a 3rd or 4th round pick, maybe. I think it's going to cost you way more than that. The guy has been leading, top 3 in the league in defensive tackle pressures. He's one of the best ever at the position, and
what don't
the
you
sack
want?
numbers might not be there. To your point, I mean, people are talking about the age. I just don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if they can contractually make it work. I know they did save up some space with the Darnell Wright extension, which we talked about before. So it's possible. Look, I mean, they find ways to make things work. I'm not overly concerned about it. If they truly wanted him and he was truly available, go do it.
Maybe Dio's part of the trade.
Well, I mean, he is motivated, guys. He's motivated.
Because here's the thing. We have to also look at the other side of who's making this trade. And Tampa Bay is starting to come out across as like not willing to pay guys. I mean, you let a legend in Mike Evans walk and the team he goes to still thinks he's a viable piece of what they're doing. The Baker Mayfield situation is getting ugly in public. And, he kind of, picked up things after Brady left and had some really good seasons with them. So if they're getting that kind of reputation, then maybe this has nothing to do with how good he's going to be, and you make it work. And like I said, for 1 year, for maybe 2, you love it. And if a 3rd year, you're like, oh, that sucked, but it led to you making a Super Bowl or winning one, sign me up. I don't know if he's that kind of guy, but you said number 3 in pass win rate at his position. He's a guy you have to game plan for.
100%. I think it would be a no-brainer for me if he was 28 turning 29, right? Like that would be a no-brainer for me. It's just, guys typically when they hit that 30 mark, it starts to transition and it just starts to go down. So you just never know what's going to happen.
I don't know I don't know if the draft capital will be quite as much because of this stuff you're saying. I think you'll have to give him an extension.
Yeah. Again, go to the comments. Let us know what you think. Is camp too physical for you guys? Do you think that they're doing things the right way? We love Ben Johnson. We love his intensity, his physicality. The Ryan Poles interview where he's got the Ben Johnson shirtless figurine behind him. Like, I love that stuff. go to the comment section and let us know what you think about the Marcus Davenport signing. Do you think they should go after Vea? Let us know in the comments. We love to continue that conversation.
I got one more, Halas Huddlers. In the comments, try to guess which legend did our Rob Schwartz interview, and in our upcoming episode, that will be revealed.
Yes.
So make sure you're subscribed with notifications. Do it all. Come on.
Do it all. Do the ball. Hit the bell. All right. Final thing here. This is something I had to talk about. We're going to make it really quick. It's just kind of a fun situation, and I feel awful for the guy in some sense. And then some sense, I'm just kind of like, dude, you kind of walked yourself into this. If anyone is familiar with Ben Devine on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call this stupid website, I call it Twitter. I refuse to call it X. He is a guy from Indiana. He's actually a pastor, but he is also a Bears content creator, and he calls himself, or I should say called himself on social media, the most he deleted it, so I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was like the most in tune or the best insider of Chicago Bears or something along those lines. Like he was the best insider of the Chicago Bears, something along those lines, right? So he puts out a tweet a few days ago about how the Chicago Bears are going to be making an announcement that they are going to Hammond, Indiana. Look, we get all that. I actually knew that was happening. We had conversations ahead of time. Gary was the one that told us ahead of time. And then I confirmed that with some of my sources. And so Gary Ross, again, always ahead of people. Wonder why. He goes out and he talks about how not only are they making this announcement, which by the way, the announcement was just a bunch of, okay, there wasn't much to it. They are looking at a second site option, and they've been doing their due diligence on the Lost Marsh golf course. Now they're looking at what they can do with the Wolf Lake terminal site. Okay, makes sense. It's what they should be doing. But they're doing all their drilling. They're doing all that stuff, right? He puts out in the tweet that it has been incentivized so much that the Chicago Bears are going to include Indiana in the new name, and they are officially moving to Indiana. Okay. And he has this on a direct inside source. Okay. I call him out on bullshit right away on social media. A bunch of other people do as well. Some people are like, well, maybe they'll do it like the Anaheim Angels, which I didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently they are the, what are they? The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim or something.
Yeah.
So it's like some stupid way of incorporating it because they moved, but like
Bears of Hammond. Okay.
Exactly. Is it going to be the Chicago Bears of Indiana, Chicago Bears of Hammond? Whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's not happening. So we all call them out on it. Everyone I talked to said that this is not happening. No one is saying this. Absolute asinine nonsense. So then it comes out that the next day he retracts his statement. He retracts his statement and says that he was duped. He was duped by a guy who catfished him, saying that he was Big Cat of Barstool Sports. Okay. And in this conversation, he puts text threads out there and he's trying to be like, look, I mean, how do I know it's you? So then the guy sends him a picture of him. He's like, look, I can't call you. I'm on an airplane. Which, by the way, most of the time you can't get a picture when you're on an airplane. So that you should be right there. Pictures don't usually load when people send them on airplanes or vice versa. My wife is on a cruise right now. Her and I can talk on iMessage. I cannot send her pictures. She cannot send me pictures. That should have been the first clue you had.
Can't send new gifts.
You can't send new girl gifts. Can't send nude pictures. Anyway, so he goes on this whole thing. Barstool brings him on. They have this conversation with him. And he's like, look, I was doing my due diligence and I thought for sure it was you and blah, 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 blah. And Big Cat's like, dude, like I would have just broke the story myself. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, then they get this guy on who was the catfish. He is on, you do an interview with him. It's absolutely hilarious. Go outside or go on social media and find it. Just go out and find it. I can't do it justice by even talking about it, but it's a whole hilarious situation. But in this whole conversation, and this is something as a person who has been an editor and a writer for a blog site, who has been doing podcasting now for a few years, I have always made it very known that I will not give any information that I can't credit and I can't truly confirm the source of information from, right? Like, it's not like I have Ryan Poles on speed dial. Okay. Gary Ross has inside contacts. He gives us information. And even that, sometimes like I'm hesitant to put that information out. One, because I don't want him to get in trouble for leaking stuff. Maybe he shouldn't be, because maybe the source that he's got shouldn't be leaking stuff, right? So we don't want to get anyone in trouble. But at the same time, it's like, as a journalist, you're always supposed to get two sources to confirm the same thing. Then you release that information. Okay. I've always put this out there. You can go back on my social media. I have made this comment over and over and over and over and over again. We call each other fanalists. This is the reason why I wanted to bring this up. He changed his profile because I called him out. I said, this is one of the reasons why I call myself a fanalist. He changed his profile. Now it does not say that he is the number one inside source for the Chicago Bears. He is now a fanalist.
There you go. Been demoted to our level. But you said that the catfisher went on the show. Like, how was Big Cat towards him? Because, like,
oh, they thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, but like impersonating you could get you in a kind of weird situation. You know what I mean? I don't know. They handled it fine, I guess, how they wanted to handle it. But
apparently, it's not this guy's first time doing it. Apparently, during COVID, he was also the one that tweeted out something about a certain quarterback who played up north, who said that if they made the Super Bowl, he would refuse to play due to COVID reasons. And then that got picked up by national media. And then that person had to go on to a certain former punter, now musician / radio TV host, as in Pat McAfee. I'm just going to throw it out there for those of you who couldn't follow the lines.
It took me a little bit.
And he was the one that was out there.
I guess.
Yeah. But he was out there causing problems with that as well. So apparently he's a professional troll.
Okay.
And a professional catfisher. And I guess as long as no one gets hurt in the end, it's all just fun and games.
I guess. So, well, luckily neither of us is, you're probably close to big enough that someone might try to impersonate you.
Yeah. And I completely forgot to change the slide during that whole entire thing. But I will say, I am not even that close. But I will say, regarding the stadium situation, Indiana is still in the driver's seat. There's not really much else to talk about, but they're still in the driver's seat. Illinois is playing games still. They don't want to do anything. The Bears are still in contact with them, but not in the same way they are with the Indiana politicians. So we will see. This is just the same thing that we were in, the same situation we were in May. It's basically the same situation we are in now.
Rob, I should have told you, I have a rule. If you're going to talk stadium, you have to tell me earmuffs. And then
earmuffs.
I can do this, and then you can.
Then I can say whatever I want. Cock, ball, shit, dick.
Yikes. All right.
You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy. Frank the Tank. Frank the Tank. All right. I got nothing else. This is the end of the show, guys. Please hit the subscribe button. It went way longer than it was supposed to. Again, Justin and I just have too much fun. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Go to the comment section. It's all for the algorithm. We love you guys. Shout out to Tally Brand. I got that hat on again. We will be doing a giveaway. I have another one of these hats. Not this exact same one, but I have another hat to be given away in the near future, probably before the season starts. So, guys, bear down. Claws up.
Ba-bam.
Ba-bam.